Hello, I am here for this week's community practice via a pre-recording instead of a live due to travel, but I still hope you will feel the opportunity to connect, to check in with yourself and with the group as a whole via this pre-recorded video. So welcoming you to this week's community practice, inviting you to take a nice deep breath and settle yourself into your body, into this time and this place, into what your body is teaching you right now, into what your landscape is teaching you right now, what is happening outside your own window or outside your own front door, what's in bloom, what's growing, what's thriving, what's flourishing, what's setting forth, what's hatching, what's emerging, what's birthing, what is new and whole and healthy in your world, in your heart, in your life. So taking another deep breath and just calling yourself in, calling yourself home, calling yourself to return. Here you are right now. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a random reading from the Replenish book. So I'm just going to see what we get. Okay, here it is. From day 63. Set your feet upon the magic pathway of self-trust. Approach the crossroads of choice and change. Pause in the center to recollect yourself, to call your spirit back, to reclaim your attention as your own, to extend into the expansive, to lean into the infinite, to restore your sense of wholeness and belonging. And then, knowing that you have everything you need within you, a basket of blessings from which to choose, step forward. You make your path by walking. Here you go. So our theme for this week, drawing from the Life Organizer and from my past creations for Everyday Magic for my long ago class by the same name, and then I've been drawing upon the quotes that I used for that class. I've been drawing upon those to create our weekly quote and question cards, and then putting them in combination with the Life Organizer. And I've really loved to see how coordinated the things end up. Sometimes they even have the same words in them, even though the two things are distinct from each other. You know, this book is written by a different person and created at a different time, and my Everyday Magic quotes and questions were created over a period of 2 years based on things I was reading back in 2017 and 2018 when I did that class and when I put those quotes together. But the dovetail is really beautiful and really powerful, and I just love the synchronicities that emerge. So my theme really for this one is thundering in one direction, which you have heard me reference in the past, and we'll get to that quote in a minute. But first, I wanted to read you the poem that Jennifer Loudon included in the Life Organizer, and it is this. The chambered nautilus offers to you her secrets, wishes for the rhythm of the tides to surge through your body. So natural, this expanding, this contracting. The honey-drunk honeybee offers to you his exalted sweetness, wishes for sipping the pollen of your life, receiving each glistening drop. So natural, this exuberance, this warmth. The goose offers to you her wild cry, wishes that you too fly south to shelter and rest in a still pond. So natural, this migration, this leaving, this returning. Isn't it natural that the whole world wishes you well? So inviting you to take a minute to consider, like, what if that could be true? What if the whole world wishes you well? What if the whole world wishes you well? And then the quote which is a little bit of a different theme, is from Sue Monk Kidd. And I've drawn a lot of inspiration from this quote in my life. Part of women's, or you could even say part of human genius, it's not all women here. So part of women's genius, part of human genius lies in our ability to make multiple commitments, to do multiple tasks. It's true that power can come from the flexibility of doing many things, but sometimes the multiplicity, the moving from one thing to another, is overdone and we diffuse our power. There are times it is best to dam up the tributaries and send energy thundering in just one direction. All great things are launched on big rivers. love that. All great things are launched on big rivers. Though I would also say sometimes great things can be launched on small rivers too. You know, we don't have to ignore the small rivers, but really take that in, the notion that we diffuse our power by sprinkling ourselves outward in too many different directions. What happens? I say over and over about calling our spirit back, bringing our attention back, reclaiming our attention as our own, which is what the Replenish book spoke about. The Replenish poem for today spoke about too. Like, we need to reclaim those splintered fragments of our attention and then launch the vision forth on the big river. What happens if you reclaim your attention and your power and send it thundering in one direction? Oh my goodness. So Bridget's Grove, how Bridget's Grove is now, in many ways has a lot to thank to that quote. Like, it's thanks to that quote, because at the time when I first read this, whenever that was, I was teaching. I was still being a La Leche leader, which is a breastfeeding counselor for nursing mothers. I was still trying to do some childhood education work, and I was running the Etsy shop, and I have 4 kids that I was homeschooling. And I was doing all these things and feeling split in too many directions and feeling like my energy was fragmented and like something was wrong with me because I was always so fragmented and feeling like I was scattered in these different directions. And I read that quote and I thought, like, you know, damn the river, kind of, not really damn the river, but like, go forth on the big river instead of splintering yourself up in these many directions. And I let go of my La Leche leading, I let go of my childhood education, and eventually I let go of teaching as well. And I sent my energy thundering in the direction of Bridget's Grove. So I let go of my Woods Priestess blog, I let go of my Talk Birth blog, and I sent my energy thundering in the direction of Bridget's Grove. And this was a turning point for me in that business, where I thought, this is where I'm putting my heart. This is where I'm putting my attention. This is where I'm putting my energy. I am sending it thundering in this direction. And it transformed how our business operated, how I felt about what I was doing, and it improved my focus so much. And that's not to say I still feel fragmented. You know, you can't have 4 kids in a business and a Patreon and be a daughter and a wife and a mother and a sister and not feel fragmented. I think it's normal, and social media that you keep up with, I think it's normal to feel fragmented sometimes, but the amount at which I pulled in and refocused made a huge difference. And so I come back to that quote wondering, when I do feel fragmented and like I'm split in too many directions, I remember that, like, you know, we really do. Part of the blessing and the burden of a human-sized life is that we really do have to choose. We really do have to choose. And when we choose to take that coiled power, to take that energy and thunder it in one direction, great things happen, big things happen. More is accomplished by not diffusing the energy. And so I wanted to share that. So the journal question for you is, what would happen if I sent my energy thundering in one direction? Sometimes it can be scary to think about this, like, like maybe too much will happen. Maybe I don't want to know. It can be scary. So if you feel some fear or some resistance arise when you hear me ask that question, dig into that a little bit. Like, what is scary? What is scary about taking your focus and taking your energy and sending it thundering in one direction? What is frightening about that? Because it can seem kind of scary, like, what if, like Marianne Williamson says, we're afraid kind of our own greatness, our own magnificence, our own radiance. Like, that's what scares us, being too big, not being too small or not enough, but we're almost like afraid to be everything, to be too much, to be too big, to be too powerful, to be too grand and glorious and full of magic. And that can be kind of scary. So what would happen if I sent my energy thundering in one direction? And if that feels scary to you, ask why that feels scary. What is unfolding naturally in your life? What is unfolding naturally in your life? And what are you forcing? And so those come from the Life Organizer. So coming back to Life Organizer now, she says, what makes me sing with joy and jump out of bed at 6 a.m.? What do I have to pull myself away from? If I were pushing or forcing or getting ahead of what is unfolding naturally, it would probably be in the area of what? So if you feel like you're forcing, like, what are you trying to force? What are you trying to push? What are you trying to control? Sometimes it's the opposite of where the energy wants to thunder in one direction. Sometimes what feels like you're forcing is not where the energy is thundering, if that makes sense. And so what do you feel like is unfolding naturally? I spoke in April's Simple and Sacred Life Circle, and I've spoken other times of that too, is that it's really powerful to me to look to my own land to see what is flourishing around me without tending, what's taking off of its own accord, what is happy and thriving and joyous without me needing to wrestle with or control it. And so that can be applied to our own lives. What is thriving for you? What is flourishing? What is taking off? What is thundering without you needing to wrestle with or control it? What is unfolding naturally? What is unfolding naturally? So these are big questions for this week. The affirmation is, I set myself free. This is one I've been coming back to again and again this year, embodying it, inhaling it, breathing it in, and living it. I set myself free. So when we feel that pressure of that we're forcing something, that we're trying to make something happen, it's an opportunity to come back to that affirmation. I set myself free. And so thinking along the lines of thundering in one direction, etc., I wanted to share a quick poem from the April-May guidebook, What I'm Here For. I am here to be moon-soaked and wild, unbound, untethered, and free. I am here for rose petals and honey, for big mugs of tea and plenty of mushrooms. I am here for sweet dark earth and cool gray stones, riverside songs and fireside drumming. I am here for magic in all of its small and glorious forms. So what are you here for? Where can you send your energy thundering in one direction? And remember, you set yourself free. I set myself free. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us in the Goddess Magic community and in this week's community practice. I really value each one of you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Keep living your magic.